And then just checking in here. Thank you very much. So we're starting sitting down. And I'll take a sip of water. I'm just crossing the legs over gently. And lengthen the body up. Loosen the jaw, just wriggle the head around a little bit. Stretch out that neck. Come back into the center as we close our eyes. Slowing the breath down. Allowing the breath to come from the belly, especially if you've been hunched over today, working on benches and over laptops. We'll start to count the breath in and count the breath out, just to see what they're doing. So generally, the exhale is longer than the inhale. And whatever those two numbers are, take the average. Use that to breathe in and breathe out. We'll move that into a breath retention. Breathe in for the same number. Hold for half at the top. Exhale out for that average number again. So it might be a 4-2-4 kind of ratio, or something similar. If it makes you feel anxious, holding the breath at the top, just return it back to that even breath. And just return gently back to a normal breath. Untangle the legs and cross them back in the opposite way around. Now as we do, we'll just take the hands forwards, just leaning into the wrists a little bit. So we're going to stretch out the wrists and the forearms a touch. So we're going to try and make sure that the shoulders are over the wrists and they're bearing down a little bit of weight. We're getting to start to get a little bit of spread through the knuckles and the finger joints. We'll turn the hands then, so the fingers point out and thumbs forwards. See how that feels. And we'll turn the hands so the fingers point towards us, the heel of the hand on the ground. So take the hands as far forward as you can, whilst you still keep the heel of the hand on the ground. Might need a little shuffle to do that. So this is the biggest stretch we're going to get into those forearms. Hopefully you can do that still breathing with a smiley face. Take a last little breath here and draw the belly in to lift up. So we just take care of the fingers. We'll take some wrist rolls as well, interlacing the hands. And then we're going to move into a kind of cat-cow, but a sitting version. So we'll just bring the hands onto the hips to make it a little bit easier. We're going to drop the hips forwards. The chest will lift up towards the sky, so we arch the back a little bit, draw the shoulder blades together, and then we'll tilt the pelvis the opposite way and let the chin drop in and the belly come towards the spine. Just driving that from the pelvis a few times, just warming up the spine gently. We'll come back into a neutral position with the spine and the pelvis. Take the left hand out to the side, keep the arm straight up towards the sky, and then follow the line of the body out. So palm faces down towards the floor, we stretch out through the fingers. We'll keep the bottom arm straight this time. Just draw the shoulder blades back a little bit. Chest open towards the sky. Bring the hands back down. And let us walk out to the opposite side. So you get purchase first, try and keep the sitting bones evenly against the block. Take the hand up towards the sky, reach up first, and then lengthen out. So a little bit of effort pressing the knee, the opposite side to the lean, down into the ground. And we'll release. I'm going to come off of the block and onto the knees. I'm going to sit back onto the heels. Take a little breath. The first thing I want to do is take a little spiral twist. I'm going to take my left hand onto the right side and wrap the right arm round and see if I can find the thigh or the front of the hip bone on the waistline. Otherwise, just using the waistband of your trousers will be sufficient. And we'll take it to the opposite side. And release. I'm going to take one hand on top of the other, just locking the fingers together. So we've got a nice strong hold there. You're going to pull the elbows apart a little bit. Take the hands directly above the head, and you're going to paint a little halo around in the air above your head. So you're rolling the circle back, out to the sides, towards the front, and the sides and back again. So just working into those shoulders. Again, still just drawing the hands apart a little bit. And then we'll change the grip over and see if we can work the other way. It feels really odd. Doesn't feel like the same posture at all. And then we release. Float the arms out wide, and we're just going to take that left arm across, right arm over the top, bend at the elbows. See if we can bring the hands together, drop the elbows into the chest, and draw the shoulders back. You can always hold on to the thumb if you can't, by just wrapping the arms around as best you can. And release the hands out on the breath in and cross them over the X-ray on the exhalation of your breath. Okay, just trying to draw the shoulder blades back a little bit. You feel that around the deltoids into the bicep area. And then we can release. We come up onto all fours and we'll stretch the right leg out. Bring the knee back underneath the hip. We'll stretch out the opposite leg as well. So we'll take that into a little bit of a balance. Bring the knees back underneath the hips, hands underneath the shoulders, tuck the toes of the right foot underneath. Lengthen the leg away, draw the belly in. Lift the foot away from the ground. Take the left hand forwards, palm faces in, look towards the fingertips. Allow yourself to bend the knee of the raised leg. Sole of the foot pushes to the sky a little bit. Take the hand out wide, follow the eyes and fingers towards the back foot. Allow yourself to find and then press the shin away to help open up the shoulders and twist as much as you can to the side of the mat. And try not to lean into the hip on the left side too much. And try and stay over the center line a little bit with the body. And gracefully release. Bring everything back down to the ground. Take a moment to breathe in, a little cat-cow round. Exhale, back into neutral. Tuck the toes of the left foot underneath. Lengthen the leg away and lift. Allow that right hand to come forwards. Bend the left knee. Eyes and fingers float round towards the back of the mat. Find a foot hanging in the air, hopefully, and then open out the chest. Press the shin back. Last breath, exhale, bring the hands back down, tuck the toes underneath, lift the knees away from the floor, send the hips back and open up into that down dog. And we can walk the down dog out a little bit, so have the feet hip distance apart. And then come forwards into plank. Roll over the toes, let the knees come to the floor and sit back into child's pose. Head comes to the ground on the exhale. On the inhale, we round the spine back up onto all fours. Tuck the toes underneath, send the hips back and up towards the sky for down dog. Come into plank, roll over the toes, sit back onto the heels. Inhale it up. Tuck the toes, roll the shoulders back, press the hips back and up. One more time. Over the toes. rolling back. Inhaling up. Tuck the toes and back into down dog. This time as you lift, you're going to take your right leg to the sky. Draw the knee back in towards the chest. So you're going to hold that down dog position. And then we'll take the knee out to the side and up to paint a circle. And you keep the heel tucked in towards your butt and the foot flexed a little bit. Roll around for number 2 and draw it in tight. Roll it around for number 3. Draw it in tight. Number 4. Get the idea. We're going to stop on number 5, being the last one. Roll it round and then bring the foot to the floor. We'll bring the left leg in, take it out to the side, then try and keep the arms from collapsing underneath. Very easy to move around a lot in this pose. You're going to try and press the hands into the floor, keep the hips back. Come around for number 4, and then number 5. And bring the feet back down to the floor. Come forwards a little bit. Knees onto the ground. Take a little breath here. I'm going to take the left hand up towards the sky as we breathe in. I'm going to thread that needle through. Shoulder ear to the ground. Inhale it back up. Open into the sky. And exhaling it down on the left. Floating through it again. And down and under. One more time. Just aiming for 5. Can't remember if that's 4 or 5. We're going to call it 5 tonight. Come back up onto tabletop. I'll see if I can count a bit better on this side. Inhale up. Right arm lifts. Folds under. Lift back up. And under. Number 3. Number 4. Last time. Thread it under. Come back onto tabletop. Take the knees wide, toes together. We're going to sit back into heel. Keep the body high for a moment. I'm going to take the left hand under and thread that through. Lie down onto the shoulder and the ear. And walk the right hand out as far as you can. Twisted child. One more breath. Walk the top hand back in. Press up to come back into that child ready position. We're going to take the right hand under and through. Slide ourselves down onto the center line. Draw the left hand out as far as we can. And we'll bring that left hand back in to press up. We'll take a little breath from there. Allow ourselves to come down onto the elbows and just walk the feet gently back. So we're coming to a Sphinx pose. So we'll line ourselves up nicely. We want the forearms parallel to each other, the elbows just in front of the shoulders. So you draw the shoulders back down towards the pelvis a little bit, so you get space between the ears and the shoulders. Hands are starting to face down. Going to lengthen the legs away. Draw the belly in. We're going to take one more breath, and then we're going to turn the palms up towards the sky and try and press the forearms down into the floor. It makes it a little bit trickier. Keeps you focused, that's for sure. So we're just spending a little bit of time getting used to this. It does feel odd. And then we're going to add to that a little bit further. So the legs should already hopefully be lengthening away. What we're going to do is we can see if we can lift the thigh of the right leg away from the floor and then bring it down, and then see if we can take the left thigh off of the floor. I'm still pressing into the forearms and keeping the belly drawn in and the chest lifting through and up, and just alternating from leg to leg. Now, depending on how tight your hamstrings are and your hip flexors, you might not get a whole lot of range of movement here, but you might be able to get the feet, in some cases, a couple of feet off the ground. People that have got very long hip flexors. We'll take a last few breaths, lifting, and then bring ourselves down again. Bring the hands right to the bottom of the ribs, press away from the floor, so draw the shoulders back a little bit, bring the knees underneath. We're going to sit back into child's pose. Knees are fairly narrow, hands come out in front. So the head may or may not be on the floor, it's not a problem. We'll take this into a side bend, over to the right. And then we'll lift, bring ourselves across to the left. And we'll come back into the center. Lift up just momentarily so that we can come down onto the mat, flat bellies, feet out, hip distance apart. I'm going to bring the hands underneath the shoulders for some low cobra. So we're going to turn the heels out a little bit, lengthen the legs away, squeeze the elbows into the ribs. On the inhale, you lift up, squeeze the shoulder blades towards the back of the mat a little bit. Release back down, inhale up, little squeeze, and exhale down. And the hard part is to do this without holding the breath at the top. It's inhale, exhale. Do two more of those. And last one. I'll take the hands a little wider, and we'll take the hands into a position that looks like we're going to do a press up. We'll come up onto the fingertips. Now this time on the exhale, we'll press into the floor and draw the chest up and lift. Lengthen the legs away. Inhale on the way down. Exhale on the way up. And inhale on the way down. Lifting. And this time, hopefully the ribs will be able to lift clear of the floor. Press the hips down, draw the belly in, send the tailbone away. Two more lifts. And the last one. As you come down, we'll take the hands down by the side of the body, palms facing to the floor. Going to press the thighs into the ground as we lift the chest and the hands away from the ground. Squeeze the shoulder blades together a little bit. Exhale down. Inhale it up. Little squeeze. Exhale down. Inhale it up. Little squeeze. And down. 2 more. And down. Last one. And we'll join in with legs as well. Inhaling both. Lifting up on the breath in. Trying to match the movement with the breath. There isn't a lot of movement to take. There is a lot of breath. So it takes a little bit of control to get the time right. We'll come up for the last time. Take a little breath from here. Bring the hands to the bottom of the ribs again, lifting up to down dog. Taking a little breath here. Bring the hands right up to the front of the mat. Tuck the toes underneath. And we'll lift ourselves into down dog. And from that down dog, we're going to stretch up the hips. Lift it out through the legs. A few more breaths here. Now I'm going to take that into a plank, to a half plank. Bootlaces down for up dog. Back into down dog. Into plank. Bootlaces change. Half plank. Up dog. Down dog. Plank. Bootlaces. Half. Up dog. Down dog. Plank. Bootlaces, half, up dog. One more, down dog. Plank, bootlaces, half, up dog. Ending in down dog, walk the feet in to about halfway along the mat. And then place the heels onto the floor and walk the fingers back into a forward fold. We'll take the hands onto the shins and lift up halfway. Exhale down. Bring the hands onto the shins to lift up. And exhale down. One more. And down. We'll soften the knees a little. Bring the hands onto the hips. Draw the chest forwards and lift up. We'll take the hands high. Into the heart. 2 more. Use this to catch the breath a little bit. Now this time as you take the hands, we're going to interlace the fingers behind the back. Draw the hands down towards the floor and squeeze the shoulders and elbows together. Allow yourself to hinge over the hips. And as you draw your belly onto your thighs, lift the hands towards the sky. Remember to squeeze the shoulder blades together and lift them away from your ears. You can actually lift the shoulders up to the sky. Try and keep the weight even in the feet, through the front and the back of the foot, and the sides. A couple more breaths. And we'll slowly bring the hands towards the hips, bend the knees deep, float ourselves into chair pose. And then let the legs lift. We'll take it into a little back bend. Belly drawn in, hips pressed back. And let the hands come down. Shake it away. We'll move slowly up to the front of the mat. Page turn, don't have to do that bit. So we're going to come into a sort of lunging sequence, few poses connected through down dog. We'll take the hands high on the breath in, hands into the heart, and exhale down to the floor. We'll take the right foot to the back of the mat, let the knee come down onto the ground, and untuck the toes and bring the hands onto the front thigh. Find balance and length in the spine. We drop the hands down to the side of the body and inhale high to the sky. Turn the palms out, draw the hands behind, interlace the fingers, and the exhale, take the hands towards the toes at the back of the mat. Let the chest lift a little. And exhale down to the floor. Take the toe on the back foot. Take ourselves into down dog. We'll draw the right knee into the chest. Bring the foot through into the lunge. And drop the back knee down to the floor, untucking the toes. Now we'll bring the hands alongside the torso. So we're still leaning on the front thigh. Going to float the hands forwards on the inhale. As the hands line up with the body, exhale yourself up. Let the hands come out wide and down to the floor. Fingertips on the ground. Bring the hands alongside the body, lift the chest a little. Inhale the hands forwards. Exhale. Hands go out to the side. Hinge over that front thigh. One more time. Lift up. And take a little breath from here. Bring the hands onto the front thigh. Tuck the toes on the back foot underneath. Press out through the heel to lift up. Keep the body as upright as you can. Once you've found your balance, let the hands come to the side. We'll inhale the hands above the head. Palms touch. Back down to the sides of the body. Inhale it up. Exhale it down. One more time. Bring your hands in towards your heart. Going to lean forwards and revolve. So we're going to take that left elbow across the right thigh. Bring the hands to the floor. Step back into down dog. Draw the left knee in towards the chest and take the left foot to the outside of the left hand. Drop the back knee down. Untuck the toes. Spin the front foot out to the side a little. As you lift, you let the knee go out to the side into a twisted lizard. Lift the chest. Now bring the hands to the floor, spin the foot in on the front leg. Tuck the toes on the back leg, take a little breath. Now we're going to step to squat front of the mat. So the right foot comes to the outside of the right hand, keeping the bottom low. Take a breath in, exhale, step it forward. Let yourself sink in through the gap and ragdoll gently back out. Zigzag the toes back onto the mat. Hip distance apart. Inhale, hands to the sky. Exhale down to the floor. This time we lead with the left foot to the back of the mat, untucking the toes. And bring the hands onto that front thigh to lift up. Inhale the hands high. And as you take them down, they come behind your back, interlace the fingers, and then draw the hands towards the back of the mat. Let the chest lift, keep the belly in a little. Shoulder blades are squeezing just a little. Should be starting to feel this across the front of the chest a bit. And we release the hands down to the floor. Take a little breath. Step back into our down dog. Draw the left knee into the chest and bring that foot through. Take a little breath here. Bring the hands onto the front thigh. Lift up slowly. Let the hands come down by the side. Find some balance. Square the hips up to the front of the mat. Inhale the hands high. Palms touch above the head. We exhale down. Inhale high. One more lift. Now we bring the hands back in towards the heart. Lean forwards. Rotate right elbow to the outside left. Press out through the back heel a little bit to straighten the leg. Look towards the toes on the front foot. Lengthen the head away. Press into the heel of the hand. You're trying to lift the chest off of the ground as much as you can, but staying connected. Take a breath. Bring the hands to the floor. Step it back into our down dog. We'll draw the right knee in. Place the foot to the outside of the front hand. Drop the back knee down. As you untuck the toes, spin the foot out to the side. That twisted lizard again. One more breath. Exhale the hands down. Spin the front foot parallel. Back knee lifts. Draw the belly in. It's that squat to the foot left of the hand. Let the body sink down deep. And ragdoll slowly out as you exhale. Zigzag the toes back on to the mat. When you feel stable, take the hands to the sky. Hands into the heart. Exhale over the thighs. Bring the fingertips to the floor, just about a foot in front. Lift the heels now, or flick around, so you move more on tippy toe. And then soften the knees, and try and get the knees to track the toes. So they just bend forwards, not out to the sides. I'm going to sit right down onto the heels. Take the fingers back, and let ourselves sit down onto the ground. Now we're going to take the hands behind a little bit. Roll the spine gently, so use a little bit of core work there. Take the hands out wide as we breathe in. Feet together close in towards the bottom. We take the left leg to the sky. Turn the toes out, bend the knee, and bring that ankle to the outside of our right thigh. Flexing the foot, we take a little breath. We're going to shimmy the hips a fraction over to the left. Slowly roll the legs down. So you're going to try and get the foot to the floor, maybe not on the clasp mat, with the left knee pointed up towards the sky, and then flex the foot of the bottom leg. So everything feels like it's engaged, and try to get a sense of narrowing the waist by lengthening the hips away. So it's the figure four and the spinal twist just interlaced together. We'll float slowly back up, bringing the hips back onto the center. We straighten out that left leg. We take the right foot to the sky, turn the toes out, bend the knee, set ourselves up. Remember, the right foot stays flexed the whole time. Shimmy over to the right a fraction, roll down to the left, keeping the shoulders on the ground. And then once you're in position to feel safe, you flex the bottom foot, toes towards knee. So you turn the bottom leg on completely. Press down a little bit if your foot is able to be on the floor, the right foot. Try and have the knee pointing directly to the sky, as well as you can in this position. Take a little breath from there and let ourselves lift back up. Bring the hips back into the center. Lift that leg up and give it a little shake out. Bring the foot down to the floor. Okay, so we're going to come into a supine version of cow face legs. So first thing we're going to do is take the left leg up towards the sky and cross it over the right and let the foot drop down to the floor. So far, so good. Now we're going to draw the chin in towards the chest so that we can look directly at the knees. And we'll lift ourselves up a little bit so we start to engage the muscles, just drawing the chest closer to the thighs. Now we're going to bring the knees a little bit closer in towards the body, so both feet are off the floor. And we're going to take one hand onto the front edge of each shin. We'll slide the fingers down towards the ankles and try and take the feet out as wide as you can. Squeeze the thighs together just a little bit. Now slowly let yourself roll your head back down to the floor. Now you're trying to keep the feet same distance off the ground on both sides. Squeeze the thighs together a little bit so you can feel yourself pushing one leg against the other. The hands are just really there to just hold everything in place. And in your peripheral vision, you can kind of see whether your feet are moving around a little bit. Now, if they are and you're trying to adjust, you will notice the interesting fact that when you try to get one leg to go up, it actually goes down. And you can't get the feet to move properly. You want the left one to go and the right one moves. And it just tricks your brain for a little bit. And we'll take one more breath and release. And untangle the legs, give them a little bit of a shake out. And then the feet together, close into the body again. We'll take the right leg up this time and cross it over left. Add a little bit of time for the sort of the tissues and the trouser material and everything to kind of move itself into right place. Take a little breath from here, draw the belly down, chin in towards the chest, and then lift the chest up a little. Let the knees come towards you, squeezing the thighs. Take the hands onto the shins, try and take the feet wide. And then roll the spine gently down to the floor. Try and keep the legs in the same position. Now you still want to look for a long neck. Try and keep the breathing calm. It's quite hard proposition. The fingers will start to slip a little bit as they get sweaty. The grip will start to slip away. You're trying to take the arms apart, which is surprisingly difficult. The feet won't cooperate. They'll just float around by themselves. Squeezing the thighs together just a fraction. Keeping the belly drawn in. And then we'll release from there. As we release, we'll untangle the legs, give the legs a little bit of a shake out. We're going to take the hands now, just a fraction underneath the cheeks of the bottom. So you don't want them completely underneath you, but just sort of a little bit of an assist, and then roll the shoulders underneath. Allow the spine to lengthen out and then make contact with the ground. Draw the belly into the spine and the knees in towards the body. Take a little breath, and then we're going to extend the toes up towards the sky and point them out. Squeeze the thighs together a little bit. Try and get the straightest legs we can. Compress into the back of the shoulders, the back of the arms, the hands into the floor a little bit. So that was the first minute. And then we can soften the knees and bring the feet to the floor. Thank goodness it was only a minute and a half. You take a little breath from there. Roll onto whichever side you like to use your hands to press into the floor to lift back up. We'll come up to sitting. We come into Dandasana to start with. Going to take the block underneath the bottom. Flex the toes back, sit up nice and tall. So to be honest, this is the same pose, it's just in a different, now the legs are out rather than the body. But hopefully it feels a little bit different. Good news is we were holding this for a minute and a half. 2 minutes. Now we're going to take a breath, rotate the body towards the right side. Let the left hand come against the outside of the sort of shin and the thigh, just so you can cantilever a little bit around. And turn the body into that right side of the mat. Try and tilt the pelvis forwards a little bit so you take the roundness out of the lower back. Now we release. Come back to the center, take a breath. Take the inhale, rotate on the exhale, opposite side. Again, just remember to tilt the pelvis a little bit. Think about the head position. You want it to be in a neutral position in terms of the spine. Some people like to look over the rear shoulder. Some people just like the chin to follow the chest. Some people need to look forward to see where the clock is. And then we can release. Now I'm going to bring the left foot underneath and take that out. I'm going to draw the right foot across. Take a little breath, take the left arm up, wrap it around, come over to the right side again. Remember that little tilt of the pelvis forwards to help lift the spine. And then we'll release. Untangle the legs. Take it all to side two. And then we'll release from there as well. Take a little breath to lengthen the legs out. Now we're going to come into another seated posture, but we're going to lean forwards a little bit onto the front of the sitting bones and then bring the heels towards the groin so that both feet are touching. Now, depending on what your body shape is a little bit, the feet will either naturally come in close or be a little bit further away, and the knees will either be high or they'll be low. We're going to see if we can take the middle finger and index finger around the big toe and then tilt the pelvis forwards a little bit so we can kind of lengthen out of that. So it will look kind of straight if you look at the video, but it will feel like you're leaning forwards a little bit. Now you're going to try to sit in this pose and ease the knees down towards the floor, as if there were a pair of invisible hands helping to draw the knees down. And you apply that very, very gently, and it's only a few pounds of effort. Now I'm going to release that a little bit and keep the feet together, but just slide them forwards. So there's about an equal distance between the ankle and the knee to the ankle to the hip. Still sitting on the front of those sitting bones, we'll just lengthen the chest forwards and let ourselves fold down over, and then we can let the spine round. And I'm taking the hands and the elbows, they're not actually touching the legs. And when they do, there's no real weight being pressed in. So the knees are just hanging out to the side very gently. Belly is drawn in. Head and shoulders are relaxed. And then we'll gently lift back up, using the hands to draw the knees back into the center. And finally, we come into Shavasana. So I'm moving off the block. I'm going to use that for my head. Knees high, hands behind, roll the spine down, just draw in the belly in a little bit. Slow execution of that roll down to the floor. And then when the spine feels good, I'll lengthen the heels out. Notice that I slide the heels on the floor just to look after the hip flexors, groin, and lower back muscles. Don't want to tweak them just in the very last pose we come into. Take the hands out to the side a little bit. I'm going to wriggle the fingers and toes shoulders, hips, legs. Get everything to feel like it's lengthened out as well as it can do, and then simply close my eyes and let go. Gonna ease my breath down and just focus on slowing that breath. We'll begin to stretch those fingers and toes again. A little movement into the wrists and the ankles. Breathe a little deeper into the chest. Use that energy to stretch out, whatever that looks like. And then allow the knees gently to come in towards the body for a simple hug. Last little rock on the spine. And then we'll gently roll onto our right side. I'm going to take a good long breath down on the floor. And a long exhale. Another breath in. And this exhale will push away from the ground. We'll come up into a nice seated posture. Bring the hands in towards the heart, taking the breath in. Close the eyes gently. Begin to let the exhale happen as the chin drops in towards the chest. We can bow to the floor, sealing our practice for the evening. Letting the breath come back in to lift us. And eyes open, head lifts. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. Have a lovely evening.